Excellent. So this is the B reel, right? This is the outtakes that we get to do for the get to do for
Oh
the
boy.
all the blooper reel at the end. I got my cider, so I'll give everybody a little toast and have a sip of
Oh,
cider.
Okay, let's start off real terrible. What's the best Star Wars movie? No, just kidding, just kidding, just kidding.
Yeah.
Just destroy the game immediately.
Off the rails immediately. That's right. Thanks, Eric. We're good.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Um, thanks, Yang
Thanks,
Yang.
Yang Yang.
Appreciate it. So all I'll say is that I have the privilege of playing at a table where I've been at the same table for my home game for like 15 years. The players at my table between 15 to 10, and the last guy joined about 5 years ago. So we just have the benefit of long-term friendship, excellent communication, and obviously a very similar play style. So in terms of having that session zero discussion, that's not something that I've had to do for a long time in a formal way. So I'm really pleased that we can get to do this as a group today. But I want to stress that I am here to listen and to provide any support that I can for everybody as needed. I know Eric has had a little bit of experience running this with different games online, and several of you have played online as well. Barnaby, you mentioned before that you've had a bit of experience with that and have some resources that you can provide if we are needed. But really, what I want to do is just open up the floor. If anybody wants to take the lead in terms of things they want to ask, please do so. And I've got everybody's files that we sent off in terms of ads, veils, and bans. So anything in terms of discussion points we want to talk about, I'm here. But I want to just zip it and listen for everybody and open the floor and let you guys take the conversation, please.
Has the document about ads, veils, and bans been compiled and made available to everybody?
No, just to you and I, the one I shared with you, it had a summary for everybody. I didn't share that with the other players. I didn't know from a privacy standpoint if that's something that they wanted shared. So
Okay.
I can do that right now, or I can just verbalize it with everybody that's here in the room, whatever everybody prefers.
Does anybody have a issue with disclosing
I
that all to
didn't.
everybody?
no, that's fine.
Okay.
It also
just
makes
wanna
it
make sure.
easier to know what
Yeah.
we should avoid as players too.
Yeah, I want to
100%.
make sure we're all on the same page with it.
Yeah,
So
you got it.
that's very important.
Yeah, absolutely. There's also some lovely overlap. Several of you had the same answers, and so in terms of just finding a like-minded group, we kind of lucked out in terms of you guys just having really similar expectations and just things that are important to you, which is great. So for ads for Barnaby has puzzles and role play. For ads for May, puzzles and role play. literally the same answer. Ads for Diana, politics, role play, and mysticism. Ads for Mara was heist and anti-authority. That one's a stretch. I don't know if we're going to see any anti-authority in this game, but I'll do the best I can. So ads, right? We see consistency there. It's pretty lovely, and honestly, it fits beautifully in with what I had planned for the story. So that's great. So for Veils, Barnaby for Veils is slavery and torture. Veils for May is sex, violence against animals, and body horror. Veils for Diana was self-harm and violence to children. And Veils for Mara is sex, flirting, body horror, and drugs. So again, a few themes that were carried over similarly. Before I get to bans, I'll pause there for a second. Does anybody want to talk about their veil specifically or ask any questions?
Just want to reassure everybody, we are a PG-13 stream, so there will be nothing much that you wouldn't expect to see on a Disney Plus Star Wars show. And sex has never been a huge part of the Star Wars universe, so I don't expect there to be a whole lot of that going on.
No.
There might be some, like, significant glances, maybe some precious hand holding, but I don't know about, like, yeah. Anyway. So yeah, no, that all checks out.
Anybody else? Any questions or comments?
I know Star Wars has a long and weird relationship when it comes to the conversation of slavery and how that's handled and what they do, what they decide to do with it, and how they choose to acknowledge it when having conversations in the various spaces that they do. Are we touching and or acknowledging that in any way? And
so I mean, yeah, slavery is a thing in the Star Wars universe. The Empire are slavers, as protected by the establishment, the government, and so forth. But it's mostly going to be something that wasn't. It wasn't my intention to have any of that as part of the story that I had planned, but I think maybe some unwritten sort of or unseen allusions to the fact that the Empire people disappear. I guess is an easy way to put it, right? And the Empire might arrest people, and what happens to those people? There's not going to be any slavery where you guys live. That there's no slave labor where you guys live. It's technically still a workforce that is working with a single employer, that they don't have any choice in the matter in terms of what they get paid and the work that they do. It's the Empire's calling the shots. But there's not going to be, there was never any tension for any slaves in this story. But I just, in terms of the fade, if a veil is a fade to black, in terms of if we don't even want to necessarily mention slavery as a thing that the Empire has done, or for you as characters to discover that slavery is something the Empire's done, that's fine as well. But I want to follow your lead, and whatever you guys are comfortable with in terms of how much it's even acknowledged or presented, I want to leave that up to you.
I know there's a continuum from coercive capitalist working class having no rights to slavery, and it's not that big a continuum. Like, you can get there pretty easily, and Star Wars, obviously the Empire is pushing people in that direction, but like
I think the hard line for me is specifically chattel slavery.
Okay.
Is everyone familiar with what chattel slavery is? Okay. That for me is like the hard line. The like people being in work camps, or being in the like in that means of slavery. It's going to be, where's it fine with that.
Yeah.
It's the dehumanization and or the turning of people into property, that is like the hard line for me.
Okay.
Understood. Yeah. No, and that's helpful for me as well. Was never going to be part of this particular 4 episode story that we're going to do together. If
But
we
it's
are
good
so
to know that we can just make sure to avoid it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And if we are so fortunate to do this again in the future, if I think there's a possibility that that the characters would encounter a work camp or something of that effect, that would be another follow-up conversation that we would have, that I would make sure that that's still something we even want to just have as a fade to black, or if it's something that we can include in the story if handled correctly, again, based on your guys' input. But for now, for this series we're doing, it's not going to be part of the content. So we're good there.
Thank you for that
Always just
clarification,
want to be
Barnaby.
explicit. Yeah,
Oh no,
always just want to be
Absolutely.
explicit about those things.
100%.
100%.
Anything else on the veils? Anyone else's comments or questions? Okay.
Clarifications.
I guess also, like, on the torture, I'm fine with how Star Wars in the past has handled it, with the needle in the corner and then the fade to black, or the weird one in Rogue One where the giant tentacle monster
the mental
that
like
doesn't get
tentacle
explained.
monster.
Yeah.
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 Um,
Just to clarify, fine with it. Like, if that's the nod to like how Star Wars handled, I'm fine with that. But like, no, like for me, no explicit, like long drawn out like tortures.
Sure. Did you, Barnaby? You've watched the full Andor series?
I have not. I have not seen the. I still have not watched the last couple episodes, just because
Okay.
all the things that are happening in the world, and then Ahsoka came out and
Sure.
screaming into the void because I can't talk about it
Th-
anywhere.
There is a
Yeah.
there is a torture scene in Andor. I'm just not sure. I can't remember what episode it's later in the series. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's not explicit, but it's heavily implied. And I wasn't sure if you'd gotten to that scene yet or not. Sorry for a spoiler there, but it's
All good.
okay. So that's the only other example that's relevant and kind of in the era that's been recent in terms of how they handled torture, and it's pretty dark, but it's not like someone's getting beaten tied to a chair. They handle it differently, and it was interesting, but the implications very, very strong.
Yeah.
So okay.
I think as long as it's implied and it's not something we collectively role play out
Oh
heavily, I think
yeah.
is
I have no desire either. I get that, but I guess what it does is it adds that other edge to the Empire in terms of knowing that if you end up in captivity, it typically doesn't go well for somebody who they feel has been a disturber of some kind, right? So understood. Okay, so let's go to bans. So Barnaby, for bans, you had sexual assault and violence, And May for bans, sexual assault, violence, racism, and slurs. Diana for bans, sexism, homophobia, transphobia, and slavery. And Mara for bans was sexual assault, violence, and homophobia. So again, very, very common themes there. All things that I have no interest in including in my role play as well. But other than and Diana's got slavery as one of her straight up bans. So again, if that was something that we were going to allude to in a different part of a story, that's something we could have a follow up discussion on. But anything else on those sexual assault? Okay, sexual assault, violence. I'm assuming when you're saying violence, violence related to sexual assault, as opposed to a fist
Pew
fight
pew violence.
Yeah.
or pew pew
Yeah.
violence, right?
Laser guns.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
And yeah, homophobia, transphobia, it's not something that's ever part of my role play. And you could say there's homophobia in Star Wars in the fact that they've, up until very, very recently, not even included any positive depictions of same-sex relationships.
That's
But
its own can of worms.
it is.
You
Yeah.
know,
It
that's
but yeah,
Passive
there's
but persistent homophobia. But
yeah.
yeah. But that's again not at all part of the story, and not even something that I would want to include in any story, regardless, even just for this stream that we're going to do.
we at the Dungeon Scrawlers tend to keep all those things off of the stream regardless.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
We're all on the same page, I think.
for sure. So,
Good.
any questions on the bans? Anything we want to clarify or expand on?
Conversation that we had earlier about the slavery versus forced labor, that still okay?
Yeah, I think for the ban for that, for me, it specifically is just that, like, I know that slavery exists in the Star Wars universe, but just like we've been saying, that's not something that I feel comfortable like role playing with, especially in the moment on something that's going to be streamed. So just generally, but like we've already discussed, kind of
Okay.
allusions to the Empire doing shitty things, but not just playing with it in the game. So
Yeah.
Okay.
Making it front and center. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
That's what you guys had. So lots of carry through, right? You guys are all thinking the same things, and you all have very strong preferences on the things you really like and the things that you don't want to see in the game, which aligns really, really well.
Would you be able to send us a copy of it just
Yeah,
to be safe, so
100%.
that way we can all make
100%.
sure? Okay, cool.
I will go through this document that I have. I can also snip this out. This document that I had has everybody's emails and screen names. It has your time zones. It's all stuff we've more or less shared pretty openly. But I don't think there is anything else that's particularly private or secretive. So yeah, I'll double check this document, and if there's nothing, something I don't think that should be shared, I'll just snip it out. But it's very much something I can share with everybody for sure. No
Okay,
problem
cool.
at all. And it would be helpful probably for you guys to see each other's time zones as well, and just be reminded of that. So that's good.
Can I also get a reminder of everyone's pronouns? I actually want to write it down this time, so I want to make sure I don't mess that up.
I have it. I actually have it already in the documents, so I will.
Okay.
So that'll be included for sure. And I'll clarify what I've got in the document to make sure I've got it written down right. So Barnaby, I have preferred pronouns as they, them.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. May, preferred pronouns she, they.
Yep.
Diana, preferred pronouns she, her.
Yep.
And for Mara, preferred pronouns is they, them. For myself, it is he, him. And Eric.
I'm a boring old he, him.
Okay. So it won't have Eric and I on there, but the document I've got ready for everybody has those pronouns already on there.
Okay,
Because
great.
I wanted to collect all of that in one spot, so this is already ready to go for you guys.
And we'll probably want to have that on the overlay, just because it'll help you remember in the moment. If we can see the overlay while we're recording, I'm not sure we can. It might be useful to put it on the Zoom, on your Zoom name, and put whatever name you want to be referred to in the game on the Zoom as well. Just because it's so easy, especially when you're playing with people you're not very familiar with, to just not know how to refer to somebody. So
is there a
Well,
way?
and also character pronouns might be different than player pronouns.
Yes.
So
exactly.
Absolutely. Is there a way to have names and things, like if Eric, when you say Zoom, if I'm using Discord, is
Well,
that
if we're using Discord, then you can do it in Discord. I just use
okay?
Zoom as kind
It,
of a catch-all term.
for me, the names don't appear unless I hover over like someone's like name or video chat. Is there a way for that to permanently display all the time?
It's a good question. I'm not sure.
Okay, that'll be a settings conversation. We'll go in and check settings later and find that out.
Yeah.
Might just be a matter of turning that on. Okay, cool. Let's just go here real fast. Okay. All right. All right. Anything else, guys? Session 0 related, just in terms of gameplay, in terms of anything that wasn't specifically covered under just the ads, veils, and pans. Just anything top of mind that you wanted to bring up or ask.
I think for me, just like some sort of like walkthrough around like character creation and or like how the system works.
Yeah, absolutely. So how much? So right now we've only been 20 minutes in. We're pretty good. How much time does everybody have tonight? Right now?
I
I'm good.
I got about another hour and a half.
Okay. So
Yeah, same.
plenty of time. And Eric, how are you doing for time?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, perfect. Then we can absolutely do that right now. So character gen is really, really easy in terms of just how long it takes to actually put a character together. But let's talk about the system for just a couple minutes. I'll try and give you the really basic overview. So obviously it is a D6 system. So you are only rolling 6-sided dice. And you've got your, here, let me put this in the chat real fast so you can see a character sheet. Because it is a really easy way to. So this is just an image of a character sheet that has the most common skills on there, and then I've got a fillable character sheet as well, which you guys can then either fill right online or print off if you've got access to a printer, whatever you like. But these are super handy. So you have attributes and skills, and Star Wars is a super forgiving game where if you're going to attempt something, you're going to roll your skill to do that thing, and the number of 6-sided dice you have is what you roll. And there's simply a difficulty number to succeed. And the difficulty numbers like go as low as like 3 to 5, and the really difficult can go up as high as like 16 to 20, or even higher than 20 for exceptionally difficult things. Starting characters, you're going to be in the 2 to 4D range for most of your stuff. But Star Wars is super forgiving because if you don't have blaster or repulsor lift operation, which is how you drive a land speeder or speeder bike, it doesn't matter. You can roll the base attribute, and whatever dice you have as your base attribute, you can still attempt it. So it's super forgiving in that there's no restrictions that you can't do this because you weren't trained to do it. You can just do something better because you might have some extra skill dice in that. The only other thing, so you're rolling 6-sided dice against a target number that I assign as the game master. So most things will be pretty basic and straightforward. But what Star Wars D6 has is you've got your 6-sided dice, of course. So let's say you've got 3D in a skill, whatever it is that you're trying to do. You're going to roll 3 dice. You're going to add them up, total them up, and that gives you your total, and that's against the target number that we have. But Star Wars D6 has something called the wild die, and so if you've played with any system that has an exploding die, you've got 3 dice in a skill. You roll 3 dice. Make sure one of your dice is clearly a different color, style, whatever it is that works for you. That's always going to be your wild die. And if you roll a 6, it explodes. You keep it, add it to your total, and roll it again. If it rolls another 6, it explodes. You keep that 6 and add it and roll it again. So it gives a chance for even a really beginning character to have an exceptional moment and really, really succeed well. And then it also, if you roll a 1, there's a bit of discretionary. We can just add in the 1 and nothing happens. Add in the 1 and you might still succeed if your total was still high enough. But I get to add a complication now or later at my discretion. So it's a little bit of messing around that I can do just to complicate things. Or sometimes you can just take the 1 and remove your highest die and then add up the remaining dice if you have them. I almost never do that. Complications are way more fun because you can make them very minor complications that are annoyances, or actual important complications that can really mess things up and make your lives a little more difficult or interesting, right? So that's typically how we'll handle it. But it's just important that you're going to have some 6-sided dice. Eric and I talked at the very beginning, and we talked about using Roll20 so that the dice could be seen on the screen. And I considered that and I was working towards that. But man, I have not gotten to roll a fistful of sixes in a while. And I want to do that again. And I want you guys to have that joy. So I think we're going to go physical dice. And so it's on the honor system that you guys will just roll your dice. But I want you to be able to pick your wild die and have a die that's your favorite and make that your favorite six. And then you get to be super excited when you roll a wild die with a six and you explode, just like getting to roll that 20. And then everybody gets to cheer and have a good time, right? So we want to celebrate that. So we won't the viewers won't see it on the Twitch stream with a Roll20 interface, but you get to do that clatter of dice, because if you get up to 3, 4, 5D in a skill, if you're really exceptional in something, that's a nice mitt full of dice that clatter in your hand and you get to roll. And I'm a sucker for that tactile rolling function, so that's what I'm going to suggest, is that we go physical dice and you guys get to pick your wild die. So pick your favorite sixes, collection of sixes that you like, and just make sure one of them is clearly one that you'll always remember as your wild die, so you don't forget or get it mixed up with the others. But literally, that is it. Anything that you're attempting to do, you roll that skill. I don't have that skill. You roll the attribute that skill falls under. If you're not sure, it doesn't matter. I'm going to tell you in the moment exactly what you're rolling. And that's for attempting to complete a task. And that's also for combat. You want to shoot somebody with your blaster, you roll a blaster. There's a target number based on distance, and you have to beat that target number. Where it can get interesting is when you'll see one of the skills on that basic character sheet is dodge under dexterity. And so as a reaction in combat, you can react and say, well, I definitely don't want to get shot, I'm going to dodge. And what you're doing then is you're deciding that if the distance is too close, and I say, well, the difficulty number is only 10 because you're just across the room from each other, it's not very far away, it's pretty easy for someone to hit you, you're going to roll your dodge dice, and that total that you roll in your dodge dice will replace the difficulty number for it. So dodge, as you can see, will quickly become a very important skill in a galaxy where people have a lot of things that can shoot you with, right? So there's little things like that where there's a bit of opposed rolls, but it only typically comes up in combat or in specific opposed character versus character situations, right? And that's really it. But everything else is just target number, d6 versus target number, and then maybe some opposed rolls if you're actively doing things. Now, the other thing that's sort of a staple of Star Wars D6, also very forgiving, also really player friendly, is the ability to do multiple actions. So there is no I can only move and I can only do one action, and then maybe I can do a bonus action or a side action. If you want to do one thing, we tell you what skill you're going to roll your dice, and you're going to hit your target number. If you want to do two things at the same time, and that could be as much as move across the room, access the computer, move across the room, and hit the guy with my stick, that's two actions. You take 1d off of all your rolls this turn. So if you've got 3d in your melee attack, and you're going to move, you get to move. That's one action, and then your melee attack is now minus 1d, so it's only 2 dice instead of 3. You want to do 3 actions in a turn? You can do 3 actions in a turn. You take off 2 dice from everything else that you're doing that round. So the math gets really easy. It's a little weird. It breaks some people's brains the first couple times we do it, but you catch on to it pretty quickly, and you recognize that with our beginning characters, your stats won't be super high, except in maybe 1 or 2 things that you're really exceptional at. So you have to be a bit judicious about when am I going to try and do multiple things at once. How effective am I going to be when I do that? Because you're losing dice, and you can't go below 1. So it doesn't matter how many actions you take. If you don't want to take 5 actions, but you don't even have enough dice to get the minus down, everything just goes to 1d. You still get to roll 1d. Hey, that 1d that you're rolling is your wild die. It could still explode. Maybe you get lucky. But typically you want to just pick your moments and say, oh, I'm gonna dodge or something, right? And the thing about that is, so when we do combat and initiative, there is an initiative system, you roll perception, there's a specific way that they kind of handle it, but I'm really going to simplify it for the stream because I don't want to get bogged down in nitpicky, because depending on which version of the rules we're using, sometimes you roll every round, sometimes you just carry it through round to round, sometimes it's only one person that rolls, whoever has the highest perception for each side rolls their perception dice, and then initiative's determined for that. I'm going to do something that I hope is a little bit fun. This is your home, this is your planet, this is your backyard. In most cases, you guys are going to win initiative because you know the surroundings, you know what's happening. Unless I specifically tell you somebody's caught you by surprise or off guard, then they're going to do it. The only thing that initiative matters for is whether you act first or declare first. So if you act first, you don't know what the other side's doing, but you get to go first, and you might be able to shoot them down or run away before they get to do anything. You get to act first, and you might get a chance to make a difference. But by declaring first is like, by declaring, then you can wait for the other side to say what they're going to do. If let's say it's a couple stormtroopers, and the stormtroopers say each stormtrooper is going to take 2 actions, and you know there's probably a really good chance they're going to shoot a blaster and maybe move towards you, whatever. So when they take their actions and you haven't acted yet, you haven't used up your dice, you haven't done anything yet, you can wait and see what the other side does because you've won initiative. You're going to wait, and then the enemy declares they're going to shoot you. You say right away, I'm going to react to that and I'm going to dodge. And you haven't used up any of your actions yet. But if you do anything else on your turn, so the stormtrooper shoots you, you roll dodge, you're good. You've already done an action this turn. When your turn comes, and now, okay, now it's your turn to do your first action. Now you're minus 1d to anything else you do this round because you've already taken at least one action this turn. And if you say, well, I'm going to do 2 actions because you wanted to run and you wanted to shoot back, you've already dodged. That's 3 actions. You'll be minus 2d for the rest of your rolls this turn. I'm going to pause there for a second because I've just described that pretty quickly. But does that make sense intuitively? Does it seem pretty clean, or does anything not make sense?
We want to do
I-
an example,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
like a little tutorial.
Yeah, we can absolutely do that in a couple of minutes. I'll just kind of go over that last bit to make sure. But the biggest point I'm trying to get across is that you have lots of freedom, that you're not limited in terms of how many things you can do in a round, but the more things you try and do in a round, the less good you're going to be at all of them because you're scrambling and you're multitasking and such, right? But the system is very simple in that it's still all just going to be d6s. It's still all going to be a target number. No matter how many dice you lose based on multiple actions, you still get to include your wild die. So if you've got 3D, one of those dice will be your wild. If you only have 2 dice, one of them are still going to be your wild. And for any reason you multitask yourself down to 1 dice, that 1 dice is still your wild die. You still have a chance to explode. So it's really good.
And to be clear, this is an old system. It's going to be clunky. We're going to run into situations where we're like, "Wait a minute, what just happened?"
Yeah.
And that's just part of
This is
part of the game.
1987 game design. The Wild Die didn't come out until the second edition, which was like 89 or something, or 90 or something. But yeah, we're talking late 80s, early 90s game design. So it's a distinct effort to be fast and cinematic in complementary to the movies, which it actually is when we get to play it because you don't get bogged down in a lot of heavy structure with things. And everything else is just adding or taking
theory.
away d6.
In theory,
absolutely.
In theory, yeah.
But I hope that it'll be fun because especially for streaming, there's not a lot of modifiers. There's not a lot of like weird things that can change numbers, and it's always me. There's no armor class you're going up against, right? It's just I'm assigning a difficulty based on distance, and if you're in a melee fight, there's just the 2 skills: melee to attack, which is under your dexterity; melee parry to defend yourself, which is dexterity. They don't include it under 1 skill. That's one of those weird things that like, well, I'm a good sword fighter, but I can't parry. That makes no sense. Correct. But what they do is they give you the ability,
1987 game design, yeah.
and they give you the ability to, let's say, boost up a couple of your defensive skills without needing to sink resources into the ability to fight with melee weapons if that's not something that you really intended your character to be able to do. Melee parry doesn't mean you actually have a weapon in your hand defending. It means you know how to defend yourself, or you're just really good at defending yourself against someone trying to stab you versus someone trying to shoot you. Little things like that.
Do we define the skills we have? Because in the fillable character sheet, they're empty.
Yes, that's why I gave you the image of the sort of basic character sheet that's got the really core skills already listed on it. That was sort of a pre-printed one. There's and here, let me add in this. This is the other one. This has more skills on it, but there's more skills than you need to worry about because we're not using all of these skills that are in this document that I just sent you there. This has a quick description of like what each of the attributes mean. Most of them are pretty self-explanatory, but it has the skill list that you can choose from. But honestly, don't worry about really weird stuff, or ask me if you're not sure, because we're going to stick to some of the really core skills that are much simpler. Because there'll be certain ones that'll be more universal that you'll just use most of the time anyway. But you're going to get to pick your skills. So let's do a quick character generation because it's really easy. So on that fillable sheet, you've got your 6 attributes. You get to distribute 18D between those 6 attributes. Those are your core attributes for your character. If you did 3 dice in each of them, there's your 18 dice, right? So you could just split it up evenly. For all of those that are human, your minimum that you can take is 2D, and the maximum you can take is 4D. And for Ektochi, it is. I know I sent it to you before, but I think I have it here again. There it is right there. Because it is an alien race, they get a little bit of variability where their minimums and maximums can go a little bit higher or lower depending on what they get.
Oh, so I only have 12 I can distribute.
No. 12 is for a non-player character. So if I'm just making up an Etochi NPC, they only get 12 dice because they're not as exceptional as a player character is. You still get 18 dice to distribute between all 6 of your attributes, and but you can't go lower than the minimum you see, and you can't go higher. Now on that Etochi, you can see that they've got on there like knowledge 1d plus 1. Well, how do you get plus 1? This is where it'll get a little bit into the weeds, but I'll try and explain it. Out of your 18 dice, you could take one of those 18. Now you have 17 left to still distribute, and you can break up that 1d into 3 plus 1 pips, or into 1 plus 1 pip and 1 plus 2 pip. 3 plus 1s equals 1d. So what it means is knowledge, if an Ektochi NPC had 1d knowledge, I would roll my wild die, whatever dice it gets, I add plus 1 to it because they have that plus 1 on there. So if you have a dexterity and you want to be higher than 3d, you want to be 3d plus 2, you'll take one of your 18d. You've still got 17 to put into your attributes. You take plus 2 and add it to your dexterity. Now your starting dexterity is 3d plus 2, and you have a plus 1 pip that you can add to another one of your attributes wherever you choose. I'll pause there with that explanation. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Humans still can't go lower than 2d and still can't go higher than 4d, regardless of where you allocate everything. And the Ektochi is limited by what you see there. But mechanical on the Ektochi, because they're natural pilots, you can go as high as 4d plus 1 on both mechanical and strength as your starting attribute. But you're going to have to burn one of your 18d to get those pips to add that extra plus 1 in there.
Okay.
Play around for a minute, put some attributes down on that fillable sheet, and then ask me, add it up, see if it adds up to 18, and then ask me a question if there's anything unclear. And then we'll do skills in a moment. And on that handout that I sent out, that new player handout, has a quick description of it. But just if you want to know what an attribute will help you do, just ask me as well, and I'll explain it. But they're pretty self-explanatory the way they've broken them up, right? Usually the biggest difference is what is the difference between mechanical and technical. Mechanical is I'm driving something. Technical is I'm fixing something. And then that character sheet you can see the basic skills already on that character sheet. So you can see where certain things fall under and some of the base skills that might be important to you.
Just in case anybody is feeling a little bit uncertain about the system, I have played this like a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
I am almost as new to this as any of you might be. It did produce some really good gaming experiences, though.
So when we're filling it out on the form fillable, that top line, where do we put the number in the first slot or the plus?
So the number of dice goes in the first slot. If you've chosen to add any pips out of your 18 dice, you would put that where it says D plus, so 3D plus 2, you put the 2 on the other side of it.
Okay. And if I break up one of the 18, I could
Yes.
put a plus 1 in 3 different attributes.
You got it. That's exactly
Correct.
right.
Okay.
That's exactly right.
Cool.
Or you can do a plus 2 and a plus 1 if you only want to do 2 things.
Okay. But I can't go higher in, like, for perception, I can't go higher than 3D plus 2.
Absolutely right.
Okay.
That is your racial maximum for the race.
For not doing a session 0 in 15 years or so, I think Jason's doing an okay job. Good job, buddy.
Thank you.
I agree.
I wore the shirt. Never tell me the odds, just to give myself a good vibe. So there we go.
I know. I'm trying to plan out what I want to wear because
Oh,
I
the
can't
suit,
cosplay
right?
this.
Oh yeah, you guys.
Yeah.
Come
Some-
Figure out the
bring your
lookbook.
A game, please. Everybody bring your A game. I'm looking forward to it.
I don't want to paint myself orange.
But like, what if you
Um,
did though? It'd be crazy.
Get like a bad like 90s, like early 2000s spray tan.
Oh my god. Full Jersey Shore.
Yes. And then I don't know, prosthetic horns. I don't know. Isn't someone playing a droid?
Mara's
Mara
playing the
is.
droid.
Mara
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
hmm
Wear a trash can on their head.
Yeah,
They will. So don't say that in front of them. They'll do it. They'll
I love when
commit to the
people do
bit.
Amazing.
That's awesome. I might try to get some like orangey colored stuff. Yeah, like my eye makeup game strong.
I was gonna say cute eye makeup look. That's what I always do because I'm like I cannot commit to anything more than that.
I will, and the next thing you know, I've spent like $200 on a look, and I'm just like, why am I like this?
It's a dangerous game. It's a very dangerous game.
We did have a game once where one of the players was playing a mimic who would just take multiple forms and was originally a Christmas present. So like she pasted like pieces of Christmas present wrapping paper on her, but she had other things too. So like when she like revealed herself as a mimic, she had like ribbons hanging from her, and it was like blah, and it was great.
That's so cool.
That's very cute.
Yeah.
So when we make the skills under each one of these, do they have the same amount of die?
So right now, whatever you've assigned to your attribute, every skill under that attribute is already set to that number. That's what you that's what you baseline roll at, which is fantastic because it means if you've given yourself 3D plus 2 dexterity, your dodge is 3D plus 2, your blaster is 3D plus 2, your melee parry is 3D plus 2. So it's nice. You've got a nice base already without having to put any points into your skills to try and increase those further, right? So it's forgiving that way in that if you say I'm going to be a dexterous person or I'm going to be a strong person, all those base skills start at your attribute, which is lovely. So it allows you to kind of theme up where your natural skills begin before you've even spent any skill points.
So spending the skill points essentially is going to increase particular skills that you spend the points on.
Absolutely.
In a similar way, as I understand it, to placing them here. So each die is worth 3 points, right?
Basically, yeah. But you can't have a +3, right? It's only +1, +2, and then
Right.
it goes to the next dice. So yeah.
Right.
I keep having to stop and do math again.
That's okay.
My technique was to put 3 on all of them and then just decrease 1.
Yep.
That's what I did. I just kind of
I do
things.
that often. make it all 3D and then say, okay, where can I afford to sacrifice something because I want this to be higher.
Yeah.
That would have been the smart move for sure.
What am I gonna dump this time?
Yep,
What's my dump
exactly.
stack gonna be?
Exactly.
Oh, mine's strength for sure.
Nice. Same.
And it may sound counterintuitive, right? But in terms of dump stats, right? There's no charisma. There's perception. Perception has
Mhm.
skills
Yeah.
like bargain, con, all of that kind of stuff. So anything where you're trying to pull a fast one, gambling, it's all under perception because that's just 80s game design. That's where they put it. So it just represents a mixture of your charisma and your ability to fast talk and your how articulate you are and a little bit of sleight of hand. All of it rolled up under perception, right?
Mhm.
Even though I say sleight of hand, but then pickpocket is a skill under dexterity. So go figure, right?
Yeah, I don't mind being the weak one.
Playing Baldur's Gate 3 recently, and I realized why you don't dump strength.
Mm.
Because your character can no longer jump places.
Yes.
Like,
that's exactly
Oh
I
right.
get
no!
oh no, I can't get up the
Yes.
rise that I got
Oh.
easy with my other character.
Exactly right.
And then you get less upset at Gale for not being able to follow you across the river because
He
he's so
seems
weak.
like he's just a little guy. I haven't played it, but he's just a little dude. Like, what do
Yeah.
people want from him? Like, God.
You stop eating my magic items, Gale. Anyway, it's fine.
Oh my goodness.
I just like dressing him in funny hats.
That sounds
All I
beautiful.
do.
It is
I'm like,
it's a
weird
good
hat
time.
goes on Gale.
Environmental exploration is important, but tell me about your hat collection. Let's
Mhm.
really explore that. So is everybody kind of sort of there,
I
attribute
think
wise?
so.
How
think we're there.
bad? How bad is it to have just 1D in something? Like, is that a really bad move?
So the difficulty ranges a very easy task. I set a difficulty between 3 and 5. So on 1D, if you didn't have a skill in whatever it is I was asking you to do, and it's a 1D attribute, so you'd be rolling one dice, which is your wild die,
Hmm.
and hitting a target number as high as 5, if I determine it's necessary. An easy task is 6 to 10, and then it goes
So
up from there.
she
So
has a very small chance of doing something strong.
what
Okay,
attribute? Now, what attribute are we talking about?
strength.
So here's an important safety tip.
Okay,
Strength, your strength attribute is what you roll to resist damage if you are hit or hurt.
Oh, that's an important thing to know.
That's an important thing
okay.
that safety tip wise I should have mentioned earlier. But strength, there's no resistance, there's no like that you can wear armor, you can put something on top of you which gives you bonuses, gives you either
Hmm.
extra dice or even just extra pips. But ultimately strength is what you roll to resist damage.
Okay.
A normal human with 2D strength punches you and they hit you with brawling, they're rolling 2D for their damage dice and you're going to roll 1D to resist that damage.
Okay. I think she is one of those where she's like, I can talk my way out of any situation. And then like the first time she gets punched is gonna be like an awakening
Yeah.
moment for her. Like
On that character sheet image, you can see the injuries. So stunned, wounded twice, and it shows you what the impact is to your character for that. And then in that, does the new player handout actually have the? I don't think it actually has the combat. I'll give you the breakdown for what it is real quick here.
so maybe I'll take that +1 from dexterity and add it to strength.
Yeah,
just
you
to
might
be
want
safe.
to. Exactly, you might want to. Let's go. So let's go there.
Oh no, I don't do that. I'll put this there. Okay, 1D +2. That's better, right?
So if the attacker with their damage roll beats your strength roll to resist that damage by 0 to 3, you are stunned. You're minus 1d to all the rest of your rolls this round and the next round. So it's a little significant. Again, minus 1d means you can't go lower than 1d. You'll always have 1d to roll, but that's the impact. If the attacker beats your strength roll by 4 to 8 higher on their roll, you're now wounded. You're now permanently minus 1d on everything until you are healed. And then it gets worse from there. You can be wounded twice, minus 1d, wounded twice, you're now minus 2d to everything until you're healed. And if they beat your roll by 9 or more, you're incapacitated, which means you're now unconscious. So it's combat, as much as this is it's a fun D6 system. Combat's a little bit brutal because there's not a lot of give there in terms of the ability to resist. No hit points. There's no, fancy armor class to protect you. Armor will give you more dice to resist, but it doesn't make you harder to hit. Dodge and melee parry and brawling parry are what make you harder to hit. So if you're going to have a low strength, no worries. You definitely want to be investing in dexterity.
Crap, I just took from dexterity.
No.
Because dexterity is someone comes up to you and they're going to throw a punch at you. You can react to that immediately by saying, "I'm going to brawling parry." Doesn't mean you're hand to hand fighting them. It just means you're getting out of the way of that punch. That's your only line of defense because if they connect, you're only rolling 1 die to resist any damage they do to you.
It's okay. Just stand behind me. You'll
Mm.
be fine. Just stand behind me. It'll be cool.
It's going to be
Choice.
like, talking didn't work. I'm going to take a step back now. I'll be over here under the
Hey,
table.
you're just a skinny, scrawny kid, and that's okay. That's who you're
Just a
playing.
guy.
Yeah.
But
Just a guy, just a
little guy.
the consequences of that, because strength is a specific skill, a specific attribute when it comes to combat. It's important you guys just know the consequences of that. So
I'm okay with that.
yeah, that's okay.
She can get her stuff kicked in. I'm going to try to not swear as much because I'm assuming with PG-13 we get 1 fuck and that's it.
One F-bomb per episode.
Per
That's the rule.
player, or is it like 1 for the whole episode?
Nah, it's for the whole episode. So like when somebody drops the F-bomb, we go, there it is. There it is.
Okay.
We can
Okay.
take turns doing it, guys. We can switch off each episode.
We each get 1. Yeah.
You'll each get 1.
It's only
Theoretically,
fair.
since we're pre-recording, like we could bleep people.
Oh my god!
Theoretically.
Please bleep it with like droid noises.
I've got a
know.
I've got a droid noise that if I
Just
give
saying.
that to Yang Yang can put a little R2 over it. We can do that.
We all know R2 was swearing up a storm.
Oh my
so
god,
yeah.
I think it
know
works.
that.
I've got multiple R2 sounds, and one of them is his bass square. I wish my sound thing was working. I'd play it for you right now, but yeah, it's I've got multiple R2 sounds, so we can pick one. Yeah.
Okay,
So
cool. Then I'm
fun,
not going to worry
actually.
about it.
If Yang
Same.
Yang can do that, then yeah, we can totally. And that's the kind of like just little touches that just make the game awesome.
Hmm.
Just elevate the stream even more.
I love that.
Yeah.
What do we put under
okay.
type?
Whatever you like, basically. If you're a human, normal human height in terms of just like, if you want to be
Oh no,
exceptionally
not
tall.
height. Type.
Oh, type.
Is that like where you list like kind of your concept of the character?
Oh, I thought it was
Type-
going to be like, no, I
type-
like tall female human.
Yeah. Let me just double check that. What does that say?
1987 game design,
Type. Character name type. I think gender species. Oh, type it basically would be like because they have templates. So like smuggler, noble, kid, mechanic, bounty hunter. I think type is referring to your character type, so you can call it whatever you like. It's not important for what we're doing. It's mostly just a descriptor that you use. But in each version of the game, they've always had templates in the back, so you can literally just pull a template. It's got like all your attributes and skills pre-picked. You can literally just, I'm gonna play this character, and we're rolling dice 30 seconds later, so you don't have to think about it.
All right, I'm going to make
And
one.
the original version of the game, the late 80s one, there was no choose your own stats. It was you pick a template. That's what you play. So that's how they did it in the first edition of the game.
I have to get a copy of this because that would be so helpful for the first time TTRPG players who are like, "Can you play a Star Wars game?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but I don't want. Like, it's gonna be a while. Is like character creation. Like, do you want to do all that?" And they're like, "No." And I'm like,
No.
"Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Here you go."
We used to, for ours, we had, what is it called? We had a character creation, like, generator software thing.
Oh,
Yeah, it was really cool.
this is
It
gonna
had
make
pretty
my,
much everything in it, but not everything, unless you paid for it.
Yeah, that's awesome. That'll make my like first time player onboarding so much faster.
Mm-hmm.
Because we don't get past the making a character sheet because sometimes it's like trying to do your taxes. Like it's just too much, They give up.
Well, and also things like it would automatically do like upgrade. Like if you click on something like, oh, it gives you the +1 here because that's what goes with that.
That's
See if
helpful.
I can find it.
Yeah. I'd be very curious.
I'll see if this link works. This is like a Brash pilot template. Just it's pre-built, it's ready to go, right?
Oh, that's so cool.
It doesn't have the skills, so the player has the flexibility to still choose their skills, but like it's essentially got like it's even got like just your basic kind of like background and just like starting points for a new player. They just don't know what they want to do. I want to play Wedge. Okay, Wedge is a Brash pilot. Here you go.
Yeah. It's like,
I was
here you
gonna
go.
see if-
Here's your archetype. Figure it out.
Here we go. This is what I was looking for. This is the first edition Star Wars templates. That's what they look like in the back of the book.
Oh,
So they gave you starting attributes, and you just, again, the only customization was your skills that you had to pick.
so cool. I love that.
Yeah, it just made it
Nice.
fast and easy.
Yeah. Easy to pick up, you know.
Yeah.
You don't have to spend a billion years trying to
No.
figure it all out.
But as once we do the skills here in a moment, like I said, it's when it comes together, it really doesn't take more than a couple minutes. Distribute 18 dice. Now we're going to distribute skill dice, and then you're off and running. Like it's that fast.
Cool.
And so
Uh-huh.
the actual skills themselves, that like there's knowledge, and then there's all those things. Are
So
those preset, or do we make those?
so you're
guess.
going to choose the skills. Now, again, on that first character sheet that I gave you, which is just the picture, you can see it's got a lot of preloaded skills. Most of those skills are on there are kind of like the initial first edition, second edition of the game, where those are the most common skills you have. That handout I gave you has a whole bunch of other ones, and they get like business under knowledge and like specific types of repair under technical, really specific things that when they do further versions of the game, what do you want to do? You want to give more options to players. They grow the skill list because they need to have more content for the book and so forth. But we really need to slim this down. So now you're going to assign your skill points. You get 7 dice to put into skills that when you add 1d of those 7, let's say to your dodge, whatever your dexterity is, your dodge is now 1d higher. And you've got 6d remaining to assign to 6 other skills. You can put a skill up 1d or 2d if you wish, no more than 2d higher than the starting attribute. And you can take one of those 7d, break it up into pips, and play around with some +1, +2s if you wish as well. So now we can talk about this based on your concept and based on the things you want. Even if you're not sure what skill would be appropriate, just tell me certain things you want your character to be good at. I'm going to give you the skill that's going to be appropriate for that.
Cool.
But you get 7 dice now to put into skills.
Cool. Just
high-
initially. Oh, sorry.
I'd say no higher than 2d of the starting attribute.
Gotcha. My
Okay,
question
so
is.
go ahead, Diana. Sorry.
Sorry. Just initially looking at some of the dexterity ones, I see there are a lot of like differentiations and distinctions with like different types of like guns, blasters, firearms. I'm not quite sure how.
Exactly.
Like,
There's only
is there
for
anything?
you guys. Yeah, there's 2 things that for that, because
Yeah.
blasters are going to cover everything that you're going to see in terms of energy weapons.
Cool.
This was a specific discussion I wanted to have once we get to skills.
Okay.
Right now, blasters are illegal for civilians in your settlement. It doesn't mean you can't have one. It doesn't mean you don't know how to shoot one. Open carry is not permitted because the Empire doesn't need any competition.
Sure.
There is a second skill, which is like they sort of consider like an archaic skill, firearms. Firearms is not blasters. Firearms is slug throwers. So if you wanted to have a cycling rifle like the Tusken Raiders use, going back to episode 1 Phantom Menace, when the Tusken Raiders are up on the ridge firing at the pod racers as they go by, and you can hear the slugs ricocheting off of Anakin's pod, that's something that is not restricted because it's a slug thrower and it's big, and they typically just come in rifle form. You can get pistols as well, but for Diana's family farm, you guys are going to have a slug thrower rifle. And I have a really cool one picked up. So that's firearms, and that is different in the sense that the skill needed to use that because you physically load it with ammunition and so forth is just it represents a much older technology. So having that skill represents you could do that, and it would make, if your character would make sense that you've practiced with the rifle and mom helped you. You got to defend the farm, you got to defend your livestock against predators. And the Empire has not restricted that because it's farming in this community and so forth. Now, you can still take blaster as a skill. We might just talk about how it is you got trained how to use a blaster or when you've had opportunity to do so. There is going to be a period of time in the game when we are playing before the arrival of the Empire, so that just simply might make sense, but you're going to be much younger, but it could just be that your parents or a loved one or someone you trust taught you how to pick up a blaster, or at least showed you a couple times how to use one, right?
I can think of one guy who probably did. Yeah, that sounds about right.
yeah. So there you go.
Interesting.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Totally wrote
just-
down forearms, firearms. I'm not sure that's a skill.
Forearms.
Yeah, all my dex-based
Forearms.
stuff is going to be like dodge, parry.
Yeah.
Please don't.
That's
Yeah, yeah.
okay. I'm here. I'm ready to tank. I'm prepared.
Cool. Please don't is going to be a skill. That's just gonna,
Yeah.
oh, please don't.
I'm like, oh, please, I wish you would. So
Yeah.
Where would I put investigate since my whole thing is like being a
Yes.
journalist?
So investigation, I think, actually became a skill in later editions. But let me go back to the handout real fast. Under perception,
Yeah, it seems like a perception sort of skill.
They investigation is a perception skill. It's from a later edition in the game, so you could. I would put that. I would put that in there for sure.
Okay.
And let me go. Let me go to this one again. Do I have that here? Let me look up investigation real fast because it has been a while, and I want to confirm what they say investigation covers. So find, gather information about a person, their activities, their whereabouts, their dealings, and the game master should give extra hints, clues. Now, Barnaby, one thing to clarify: investigation is your people skills, your ability to go out and find information on somebody, right? There is also, I thought there used to be was
I guess
streetwise.
it's
Now
yes.
now under knowledge there's streetwise. Streetwise covers criminal or underworld organizations, finding contacts, learning info, finding illegal transport and services. So it's similar, but investigation's more legitimate. Streetwise under knowledge is who do I go talk to about how to buy a black market blaster, for example? Streetwise would help you find that out. But really, it's a little bit of a blurred line. I don't mind fudging it either way for you. I just wanted to clarify that part there for that. But the other thing, Barnaby, is that under technical, there's a skill called computer program repair. To actually use a computer terminal, if you're accessing anything other than public information, you may want your character to have the ability to use some computers as well. Because the investigation in computers, depending on whether you're doing soft skills with people or whether you're actually breaking into a system, you might need a little bit of A, a little bit of B. So I wanted to point that out to you as well.
Okay.
Question. So for piloty stuff,
Yes. Mechanical all the way.
right, and that's oh yeah. But would she know anything other than like repulsor lift? Like, would she have been like, oh, here's an X-wing 19-year-old girl alien?
So what did you set your mechanical as?
4D plus 1, the highest it can go.
So just like our farm boy Luke, there's
Sorry, my cat is sneezing.
oh my god,
You okay, buddy?
it's the most
adorable.
aggressive cat sneeze I've heard in my
Yeah.
life.
They are like rapid fire.
You have innate skill. You're like already ahead of the curve in terms of what an average pilot could do. But yes, for your day-to-day life right now, the things that all of you will have had a chance to experience would be beast riding, because the farm is going to have some domesticated animals that you can ride, and repulsor lift operation, which is any kind of land speeder bike. Land speeders, for the most part, to be what you guys will have had access to. So yes, I think that would make the most amount of sense. I wouldn't suggest putting your 7D of skills into like space transports or starfighter piloting. You're not going to use that for the most part in this game right now, because that's not something that you're doing with your day-to-day. And you're still going to have your 4D as your base, which is a good start.
Okay, yeah, because I was like, astrogation's great.
Now
She's never left the planet. So.
Well, no, none of you have left the planet. Exactly right, with the exception of Eric a little later on. But if you tell me, hey, listen, I'm going all the way and we're breaking in and we're going to go steal a TIE fighter. Okay, I guess that's what we're doing tonight, and so you're going to need your starfighter piloting to do that. But yeah, otherwise it's not it's not something that you're going to need to. You'll just be tying up skill points that you'd be better used other places right now. So repulsor lift operation for all of your land speeder shenanigans. Beast riding would just be another one because you guys do have access to domesticated creatures that you can ride.
Would beast riding go under mechanical?
That's where it goes under. You got it.
Okay.
It's one of those weird things you think it'd be like a dexterity skill, but no, because it just falls under piloting, 1980s game design.
Yeah.
Your ability to pilot a starship is equal to your ability to get on a tauntaun.
Okay, so we could list all of these things on our sheet,
You can
but
go.
then just not put
That's
points in them.
exactly right. Just to remind yourself of the other skills that are there. That's kind of
Okay.
why that stock character sheet that I gave you has all the core basic skills kind of listed on there for you as a reminder. You could
Yeah.
absolutely add them all in for sure.
Yeah, I'm looking at the important skill lists in the book thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's better at like bargaining, con, search.
Yep. And the all important sneak, which also falls under perception.
Mm-hmm.
If that's something you think you'd be good at, and do you think that's important to have?
Trying to think if she'd be good at repairing stuff.
So you do have a mentor, right? That
Yes.
is
Yes.
teaching you. So probably even if you're just your base technical is one of your better attributes. That's probably a good start.
Mm-hmm.
But your mentor has shown you how to fix things. Yes.
Okay, so just can I write like general repairs?
Well, so what would make the most amount of sense? So like the most common ones would be droid repair,
Mm-hmm.
repulsor lift repair, being able to fix a speeder, computer repair, so the ability to actually put a terminal back together, for example. Those would be three of the most common ones. First aid
Okay.
falls under technical as well, as does security. You want to be able to open a blast door. Security is how you get past the lock. And all of those, I think, are on that base character sheet that I gave you. Computer programming and repair, droid programming and repair, first aid, repulsor lift repair, security. So don't have to go into all of those, but that just represents certain things. Whatever you don't add your skill points to, your base technical attribute is still going to let you do that quite well if it's high enough.
Okay.
But yes, you've been working in the shop. Doing all right, Eric?
Just writing stuff down.
That's okay. Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And we can also take like a die and split it into that like 2 and 1 again for this for the
Correct. For the
skills as well,
7D,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
So yep, give yourself
Cool.
6D and then split it up. Yeah, or even give yourself
Yeah.
5D and then take, two dice and split those up into pips.
Cool. I think I just need to split 1. That feels correct. This feels right for her. Yeah.
So avoiding getting
hide
hit.
is a skill. We're gonna take hide.
Yeah. Now, yeah, and back old school, right? They did split up sneak and hide, did they? I think they did, didn't they?
Because I
That's
don't think she's
interesting.
sneaky. I think she knows how to hide though. Like it's like, oh, we need to break in, sneak in. She's like, I don't
Yeah, yeah.
really know how to do that. But it's like,
Yeah, yeah.
oh, there's a fight. I see a tiny corner I can crawl into,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
no one will find me.
And that's avoid getting hit, right? If you're not going to be able to take a hit, avoid getting hit. Absolutely.
Yes, I put some more in Dex just to be safe.
It's smart. Yeah. If we were playing the Coruscant Diplomat game, you probably could sacrifice Dex a little bit, but that's not the game we're playing. So yeah, you want to have some capability.
And do we ever earn skills or earn points in skills for like?
I'm going to talk about that next.
Okay, I was gonna say like it would be interesting if we had like a. This is just a silly idea, but I've done stuff like this in games I've been in or run, where like if a character like during. Like you can get points and stuff if someone else's character who's an expert in something teaches you.
Yeah.
So like if Diana's character taught mine how to punch someone without breaking her hand,
Yeah.
Like, it's like, oh, you've learned that now, and we can have a
Yeah.
Rocky montage or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's like, you now know how to do that. Not well, because I'm not taking anything in straight.
It's okay. And that's why brawling parry is a dexterity skill. So you don't have to know how to punch somebody to know how to get out of the way of a punch, right? So
Yeah.
anybody still working on their skills? Anybody have any questions on skills?
Think I'm about
No.
done
I
for
think
now.
I'm about done
So
too.
double check your math on your attributes. That adds up to 18. If you've got 3 pips, right, that 3 pips add up to 1d of your 18. But double check your attributes are still adding up to 18. And then once you're confirmed, double check your skills, that your skills add up to 7d. And again, if you broke up a pip, then it'd be 3 pips. The 3 pips would be 1 of those 7d. And then you'd have 6 other dice somewhere. So just make sure it's 18 and 7. And if that's right, so that's...
Yeah, I haven't gotten that far, but we can keep going. I
No,
can
that's okay.
do that at the same time.
So under move, your move is 10, and 10 refers to 10 meters because we are metric, because we are in the Star Wars galaxy. 10 meters is 32 feet. Another game that we know that where you move in 30-foot increments. It's pretty easy to do the math. But move is listed as 10. So when you move as one of your actions, you can move up to 10 feet, or move up to 10 meters, 30 feet. But that counts as an action against your action economy for the turn. If I've had a discussion with you about your character as to whether or not you are force sensitive, you would put yes or no under force sensitive. Under force points, which I will describe in a moment, you would put 1. If I've had a discussion with you about whether you are force sensitive and you are force sensitive, you would put 2. Dark side points for everybody will be thankfully at 0. Character points, everybody can put 5 under character points. Character points are experience points. It's at the end of every session. I award character points based on a few different things I talk about, but essentially you get character points just for we play the game. You get character points as your experience. Character points you then get to use to increase your skills or attributes. To increase a skill, the number of dice. So if your dodge is 3D and you want to increase your dodge to 3D plus 1, it costs 3 character points. You want to increase it to 3D plus 2, another 3 character points. You want to increase it to 4D because you can't go plus 3, it's another 3 character points. So it's going to cost you 9 to go from 3D to 4D. After next game, I award you some character points. You want to keep increasing your dodge. It now costs 4. The number in front of the dice is the cost in character points to increase that skill. That's it. Super straightforward.
Oh, okay. So I can never go higher in my, what is it?
Whatever your racial maximum is for attribute is as high as you can go, but skills can go higher than your attribute. That's just the baseline where you start at, and the attribute maximum reflects your race's natural capability of a normal person to, in terms of just how, physically capable or whatever you might be.
I didn't know if that was like starting maximum.
No, that's for attribute only, but skills can go higher than your attributes because you've already done that, right? If you maxed out your mechanical and then you put up beast riding by 1, you're already higher than your starting maximum, right? So no problem there. To increase your attribute by 1 die or 1 pip, sorry. So take your knowledge from 3D to 3D plus 1. It's the same number in front of the dice, but it's times 10, so it's 30 character points. Because obviously everything benefits, everything goes up 3D plus 1 from 3D, so it's more expensive because all of the skills are getting a bump. But if you raise your attribute and your skill is already higher, let's say your dodge is 4D and your dexterity is 3D, you raise your dexterity to 3D plus 1 by spending 30 character points to do so, which would take 2 to 3 sessions to get 30 character points. Your dodge doesn't go up by plus 1. It still tracks separately. So any skill you haven't increased is already now at your new base of 3D plus 1. Any skills you've increased are at whatever number they're at, and it costs just their skill dice and character points to increase normally. So it's much cheaper and more effective just to increase your skills. But sometimes you've got a really low 1D strength, and you're just like, I'd like to actually get that up. It only costs you 10 character points to get your 1D to 1D plus 1 or 1D plus 2. That might be a good investment just to get yourself up to that 2D for another full dice, right? So you make that call based on what you need. But you get 5 character points at the start of the game. Those character points can be spent to add a die to your roll. So we're in a bit of a hairy moment, and there's an important fight, or you're doing two actions. Man, I'm down 1D because I'm going to move and I want to dodge, and I really want to make sure that dodge roll is good. You could roll your dodge dice, see what it comes up as, including your wild die, and if you're like, oh, that's a really low number, I'm not happy about that, I'm going to spend a character point, I'm going to take another D6, and I'm going to roll it and add that to it. Now you've got 4 character points left, but you've used that character point to give yourself a dice. That character point die also explodes. Treat it like a wild die. So if it rolls a 6, you keep the 6 and roll it again. So it's pretty cool. Limited resource, but something you can use to save your bacon if you just get a lousy roll, which sometimes just happens, right? So even as you get more character points in the future, you don't have to spend all of them to advance your skills. You can always keep some in reserve and use them as dice to roll, as a one-time dice roll, just to get yourself out of a sticky situation. So it's a 2-for-1, really nice, easy resource to track. Use it for a character advancement, but you could use it as a dice mechanic as well. Force points. When you choose to spend your force point, you double all of your dice for that turn. So you got 3 or 4D, your dexterity is now 8D. And if you've got a 4 or 5D dodge, your dodge is now 9 or 10D, depending on what your base skill is at. Everything is doubled. So it's a big round. It's an important moment. I want to shoot and I want to run and I want to start the land speeder and I want to do this. Do 2, 3, 4 actions in a turn. Yeah, you're going to be minus 3, 4D, depending on how deep down the rabbit hole you go with multi-action. But force point gives you double dice for 1 round. It doesn't represent you using the force as a Jedi would, but the force, is an energy field generated by all living things, right? So you can still be affected by the force, even if you're not somebody who believes in the force. So it's a mechanic that they did to give you that wow moment. Force points.
This is why Han Solo keeps getting away with ridiculous things, right?
Right. So a force point's a very valuable resource, and there's a mechanic around force points. You use your force point. If you use it to save your own bacon, it's called using it selfishly. And you might need to because it's a bad spot you're in, and I want to make sure I get out of it. I'm going to use it to save my bacon. You do so. You might even be doing it for heroic reasons, but it's not really a heroic use of it. The mechanic is you don't get that force point back at the end of the session. Now, I'm telling you right now, if you spend your force point because you have to, and you didn't necessarily do it in a heroic way, you'll start next session with 1 force point again. You'll have another one that you can use because this thing. But the mechanic is that if you use your force point in a heroic manner, which we kind of define between you and I in terms of what it is, or the group agrees that was heroic, you get it back at the end of the game, at the end of the session, basically. So if you had 2 or 3 force points and you spent 1, and we agreed it's heroically because you did something really dramatic and it was pretty cool, you get it back at the end of the session. So you still have 3 for the start of the next session. So I'm just saying, even if you go down from 1 to 0 and you didn't really use it in a heroic way, you'll have 1 next turn. But the idea is supposed to be that the original iteration of the game is your heroes. The original iteration of the game is you're playing in the time of the Rebel Alliance. You're fighting against an oppressive empire. You're heroically minded. You do things for the right reasons, and you're helping people. So anything that we would all agree is a heroic thing, and I think there's a breakdown I can provide. But the way you get more force points is what they call, when you spend it, in what's called a dramatically appropriate moment. It's the big hoo-ha moment. So typically the climax of the adventure may not always be, it could just be in the middle of the adventure when there's like a really climactic thing. It could be a moment of self-sacrifice where you put yourself in harm's way, or where you're saving somebody else not just from a bar fight, but because it's like a really you're fighting against one of the big enemies, or again during the climax of the adventure is often the most common time to do it. And typically I'll tell you if it's going to be a dramatically appropriate, you'd spend your force point, double your dice, get all the benefits of that, and we agree that you spent that force point during a dramatically appropriate moment. At the end of the game, at the start of the next session, you get that force point back, and then you get a new one as well. So you gain another one. So you guys are going to get your force point back, even if you have to use it to save your bacon, because we want you to be able to play with that resource. But I'll remind everybody as we're getting into it, like, we're in the final 45 minutes or 30 minutes of the adventure. this, and hopefully something dramatic is happening. I'm going to remind you that this is a pretty dramatically appropriate moment. It might just kind of be my keyword to you. So if you haven't used your force point up this point and you need to use it, as long as it's something that we agree is heroic and such, it's considered dramatically appropriate. Then you'll start next session with 2 force points, because you'll get yours back and you'll get another one. So the idea was to encourage people to save those for those big super moments that just add lots of cinematic fun to the game, right? So that's force points. So you have 1 now, unless you and I have talked about being force sensitive, in which case you have 2. But they are your Hail Mary, because they are very, very powerful, and they let you do really amazing things, because you can do a lot of stuff. Or you can do just a couple of things really, really well. Make sense?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Character points, roll an extra dice. It explodes if you roll a 6. It doesn't have the same negative effect as a 1 on the wild die. On a character point die, if you roll a 1, you just add it as a 1, and you get to add 1 more to your total, but it still explodes if you roll a 6. Only the wild die has that complication mechanic where if you roll a 1, we still might just keep the number and add it in, but I'll hold on to that in my back pocket and make your life more interesting a little later on. But force points, double your dice for 1 round. So really, really powerful, important moment. That's it. Star Wars D6.
Good stuff.
Okay.
Cool.
So once your
Cool.
skills are set, we could just roll a couple of dice right now and practice a couple things. Yeah, make sure everybody's got what they need. And if you're still choosing skills and you want to clarify what's a good skill to take, let me know. Please ask a question.
What are special abilities?
Don't even worry about it. Oh, so special abilities would be, for example, for the Itochi, is essentially your special abilities, right? So your tough, you would write down your tough skin, and you would write down
Okay.
your expert pilot,
Oh, okay.
because you don't want to
Oh.
add that +2 pip on your sheet, because you don't want to mess up your calculation for character points and advancement in the future. Regardless of whatever skill level you're at, you're always going to add an extra +2 to any of your piloting rolls.
Okay, cool.
And when you do take physical damage, which is not blaster damage, because blaster damage is energy damage, you get a +1 pip, +1 to your strength roll to resist physical damage, which would be brawling and melee attacks essentially.
Oh, thank God. Okay.
And then
Slug
you
throwers.
slug throwers are physical damage. Good, it's a good reminder. Yes, firearm skill to fire your slug throwers. The slug throwers are solid slug. They do physical damage. They don't do energy.
Yeah, Diana is her slug thrower, so
Indeed.
yeah.
And then you've got your story ability there too for the Itochi, so you can put that into there as well if you like.
Oh, okay, cool.
But sorry, the normal humans, yeah, Bupkis, you don't get any special abilities because you're a normal human.
It's all right.
You get the special ability of not being automatically persecuted just because of your appearance.
Jesus.
Congratulations.
that's yeah, that's
Okay.
basically it. That's basically it.
Congratulations, you have Star Wars privilege.
That's right. That's exactly right. So 5 character points, 1 force point, move of 10, and then yeah, if your math is good, we could once everybody's ready, we can toss a couple dice and just do a couple practice rounds. Oh,
Cool.
while we're waiting for everybody to finish skills, I need to go back to okay, nobody. Okay, so May, your veil was violence against animals. I meant to come back to that. I apologize.
Yeah.
Totally acceptable. However, I wanted to ask an important question related to that. Star Wars has a pretty rich tradition of monsters and larger-than-life creatures inhabiting the galaxy, and sometimes those creatures come into conflict with the player characters. Sometimes those are very monstrous creatures, as we would experience in a fantasy game, and not something we would associate as animal. But sometimes they can be very animalistic or animal-like, just animal-like predators, but you wander into their territory, and so they come into conflict. So, in terms of that violence against animals, as a veil, do you prefer that there would be no scenes where we might come into contact with an animal-like creature that could be aggressive, let's say, towards the party?
No, that's fine. So most of it is like, I don't want anyone to shoot the dog. I don't want like there's bunnies trapped in a cage and we throw it into a river. Like it's like
Of
that
course.
kind of violence where it's like gratuitous.
Yep.
But if it's like a monster that's animal like, that's totally fine.
Yeah, like even like a giant prairie dog or a giant jungle cat or something, right? Which is monstrous in its appearance, let's say, but it's still basically an animal that we would associate. So I just wanted to make sure in terms of that.
Yeah, and it's like people eat animal, that's fine. It's mostly just like it's the gratuitous factor and like
Okay, good.
or like pet like animals or just just that really gets me.
The Empire can be menacing without kicking the puppy. It's quite possible. Yeah. So,
But it's basically can we avoid puppy kicking?
Absolutely. No
Cool.
problem at all.
Makes sense. Mm-hmm.
Does anybody not see a skill that there's something they want their character to do and they couldn't find a skill to match it?
Mm-mm.
Barnaby, how are you making out? Any questions?
None whatsoever. I feel pretty solid in it. I'm just sitting here drawing my character.
Oh, okay, cool. You looked heavy
Deal.
in concentration. I wanted to make sure you weren't still diving into things. So that's good.
No.
Okay. So like I said, initiative, I'm just going to handle. You guys are going to win initiative if I tell you otherwise, unless I tell you otherwise, because it's your backyard and you guys know, you recognize a stranger if you saw one for the first time, and you know that you avoid the people walking around in the white clamshells because they're just bad news. So you're not going to get caught unawares in that unless there's a specific circumstance where I tell you that. So basically, you said you have a choice to either declare, like act first, or declare your actions. Declare second, act second, because you're going to react to whatever the other people do. So let's do a good old. Let's do a good old confrontation on Diana's family farm. There's some local kids, and they're being jerks, and maybe they were throwing some rocks at the domesticated beef animal, which I can't remember the name of it right now, but I will have that ready for us for next time. And so you're gonna go out and confront the kids, right? And so there's some of the town kids who like to see the animals run and panic. And now we're picking a fight basically, or they're telling you they're daring you to come over the fence and say that to my face type thing, right? So we don't have to do any heavy role play with this. This is just roll some dice and do some mechanics. So you have initiative. You know who these kids are. We'll say there's 4 of you and there's 3 of them. And you have a choice that you can choose to act first and get the drop on them before they have a chance to. They'll still be able to react, like use those reaction skills and take some dice away. Or you can choose to wait and see what they do first. What would you like to do? And what you guys, that's one thing where you guys are deciding as a group, you're all going to either act at the same time or you're all going to wait and act afterwards. Because it's basically one side goes and the other side goes.
Gotcha.
What do you want to do?
And we're kids, right?
Yep, you guys are kids.
Oh
They're
yeah,
kids.
attack first. Screw waiting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I was gonna
yeah.
say.
Let's wreck them.
I was gonna say my character I think is
pulls out the
canonically
slug
19.
thrower and it escalates
Like,
quickly. Okay. Yeah.
then it's like, God, you have a gun? Why? They're children. Like
The rules
time, like,
about it.
the rules as written is that highest perception goes first and then it goes down like that. But I don't want to worry about remembering that or messing with that in any way. I really want to make it more freeform, so we're just having fun. So you guys can declare that if you're the impulsive one and I'm just going to act right away, call it out, and then we'll go from there.
I have to find more dice because I only have one set.
You're going to need some 6-sided dice. Exactly right.
I have them. They are in a. I think.
Yeah, it's time to break them out of storage. You're going to need them soon. Okay, while May's getting dice, Barnaby, Diana, Eric, who's going? Who's acting? And what are you doing?
I'm the older sibling, and I'm like, you know what? Just leave it be. Don't. Oh, there they go. So it's not going to be me going first.
So if you say you're acting first, what you do need to declare is how many actions you're going to take, because that's going to determine how many dice you get to roll, right? So if for any reason you want to do more than one action, you need to declare that now. So start with that.
I think I would want to do one, and I would want to I want to hop on the beasts of burden that they have, these thumpers. I want to hop on one, and I want to try to charge it right at him to scare him off.
Okay. So you're basically just going to use your beast riding, which is under mechanical. But that's going to be one action for you,
Cool.
Barnaby. How many actions are you going to take right now?
I think I'm going to just take the one. I'm going to pick up a rock and throw it at who I would perceive to be the biggest kid there.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so in the time that it's going to take Diana to ride the thumper across the field at them, you're going to have time to throw that rock. So you're going to use your thrown weapons, which I believe falls under dexterity.
Okay.
And let me just double check that it's not something silly like strength based. I'm almost certain it's dexterity. So roll your dexterity unless you've actually taken skill in thrown weapons.
No, I have grenade, but I don't know if that counts.
Grenade is specifically throwing a grenade, and I'm really interested to hear when
Oh
you
my
had
God,
a
the
chance
7-year-old.
to throw grenades. Yeah, thrown weapons is like knife, spear, sling. So anything that's just a thing. But a rock falls under that as well. So just straight dexterity is what you're going to roll. But if you're just doing the one, then you roll your full dexterity dice and make sure one of your dice is a wild die, please.
Where do the parents keep the grenades? What?
9.
Okay, you rolled a 9. So you're throwing at the biggest bully, because there's always one kid that's head and shoulders above the rest, and he's the head bully. He does not want to get hit by a rock in the face. He's going to attempt to dodge that. So now he's doing a reaction, which means he'll have one less dice when his turn comes up. So I'm going to roll his 2d, and I rolled a total of 8, including my wild die. 9 beats 8. You hit him. You're going to roll, let's do strength plus 2. So even if you've got a bonus to your strength, add an extra plus 2 to it, plus 2 for the rock.
Okay, and one of those die is supposed to be a different color, correct?
One of those dice is your wild die. Just make it the same dice every time.
Okay.
So that
that's 7. And you said plus 2?
plus 2.
Okay, so that's 9.
So 9 total. I'm going to roll his 2d strength to resist that rock. He rolled a 5, and you rolled a 7, so you beat it by 2, so he is stunned. Very thematically appropriate. So that means for the end of the remaining of this round, he's minus 1d to everything he does. He already attempted to dodge that rock, so now he's minus 2d, because that's 1d for the action and 1d for the stun. And he's minus 1d all of next round as well, because he's still dizzy. So you charge across with the beast. You are in their face. There is actually. Did you take under knowledge is a skill called intimidation, and I don't know if you saw that, but do me a favor, roll your knowledge.
Saw that.
That's okay. But in this case, it's more of an impromptu intimidation. You're just trying to scare them, but you're not really specific doing it in any specific way. But roll your knowledge, and I'm gonna roll their willpower, which is also under actually under knowledge.
Good. Cool. That is
willpower there.
Can I do math? Maybe. That is a 13.
Oh, very good.
It's real scary.
Unless he explodes, he can't do that. Okay, so one of the kids is startled, and so he's going to react based on the fact that you've intimidated him now. Older sister, are you doing anything?
I go get the rifle.
So to do that, you have to run back to the house, because that's where it is.
Oh, I walk back to the house. I'm like,
Okay. So there's 3 of them. They're gonna go, and one of them is.
Wait, I don't get to go?
Oh no, May gets to go. May, you got your dice? Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I got my dice.
How many actions, May?
Well, so my idea was to jump on the cow and ride it and try to hit them with the cow.
Okay. So you can,
escalating
do
very
some beast,
quickly.
So you can do some beast riding. So roll your beast riding, which is under mechanical if you took it.
Okay,
Otherwise,
so is it mechanical plus what I have
no,
for beast riding?
Just your skill if you've increased it. If you haven't increased it, you go back to your base attribute. So
if you put
okay,
points
so I have
into
beast riding is okay.
If you put
so I'm
points
rolling
into beast
one
riding,
dice?
then they do add to your base. So if you have a base of 2 or 3, and then you have 1 in beast riding, then you'd have the 3 or 4, right?
Just
Okay, yeah, I I have
But-
4 in mechanical and 1 in beast riding, so I'm rolling 5 dice.
So on your character sheet, when you added 1 dice, beside beast riding, put it as 5D.
Got it.
Right.
Okay.
Sorry, didn't clarify that. So if you wrote down your skills only in the number of dice you added,
Mhm.
instead change it to read the total skill with that dice added on. So if your dodge, if your dexterity was 3D plus 2 and you added 1D to dodge, you should next to dodge it should say 4D plus 2.
Okay.
That way you always
Got it.
remember how many dice you roll. Because that was
Okay.
your
I don't
starting
mind doing the
skills.
math, but
No, but a lot of people do it the way you're doing it. But I just always recommend people write the actual number that they should have, so you
Mhm.
remember how many dice you have.
Okay,
Because
so
you're not supposed to add the skill to your attribute. It's either attribute if you don't have the skill already raised, or whatever how many dice you have in your skill.
gotcha.
So if you got 4, you said 5D in beast riding, so you just roll 5D and you do not add your attribute to that.
Okay,
So roll 5D6 and make sure one of them is your wild die.
got it. Okay, well, let me do some math. $22.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
So Diana
them
specifically
kids.
said that she was going to ride the thumper to scare them. So we had her roll
Mhm.
intimidation just to kind of do that. You made no such claim. You said, I want to run him over with the cow.
Yes.
You charged ahead. So he's going to try and dodge that cow. He has 2 dice because he's a kid to dodge the cow.
Mhm.
Wow.
He did not explode. So so your 22 beats his 6. So now we're gonna pull up my my cow
Did I just kill a
stats.
kid?
Well,
Maybe.
let's
This is the bond that we take to the grave.
This is a real stand by me moment. Like, oh my god.
I
so
think the point was just like, I'm not really a physically strong person, so it's not like I can beat them
Yeah.
up. And then it's like, I just ran this kid over with the cow.
I don't know
Oh
if this
my
is going
God.
to come through
Oh.
in the camera. That's a
Oh, I
gaunt.
love them.
So that's a gaunt,
Oh.
and that is the
Aw.
Domesticated meat animal that Diana
Okay.
and Eric's family raise on the farms. They have a contract to do that. They are actually they're little herbivores. They're quite they're quite tall actually. They're like as at their shoulder they can get as tall as a full size human. But they're not terribly big or strong. So they only have 1D strength. But you still ran into them, which is still going to hurt. So you're going to roll 1 dice. It's going to be your wild die, and then if it explodes, you're going to roll the 6 again. But otherwise, just tell me what you roll, and I'm rolling my 2 dice for the kid's strength to resist that that cow.
Okay, so I'm just rolling 1 wild
1 die because it's you can't really. It doesn't do much. It just kind of bumps into him, right? Because it's just a big silly cow.
Yeah. I got 2.
Okay. Okay, so he rolled a total of 9. He rolled a 6 on one of his dice, so he did well. But he is still, actually no, because he beats it. He's okay. You still bump into him though. He wasn't expecting a cow to come charging over at him, but now you're right beside him, and you've hit him with the cow. But he managed to kind of step to the side at the last second. So
You nearly killed a kid.
nearly killed him. So that
Okay,
is
guys,
all.
Important
I almost killed
distinction.
him.
And he is aware of how close he came to being trampled.
So that is all of your actions, and now it is their
Ow.
actions to take.
Ow.
So the one that Diana scared is going to only take 1 action, and he's going to run away because now there's two kids on big animals, and this isn't going the way that the big bully told them it was going to go.
Yeah, that's right. Run.
The
There's only
other
room for
kid
one punk on this farm.
that May just bumped with the cow is a little bit disrupted, but he's not scared yet, and he's going to pick up a stick and he's going to try and hit May with his stick while she is sitting on top of the cow.
That's so rude.
And so that's just going to be a melee attack. He is not trained in melee. He's going to use his base dexterity, which is 2 dice. You can react to this right now and use your melee parry, or you can rely on just him trying to hit the difficulty number. I'm going to say it's easy to hit you. He needs to get a 6 or higher to do so on 2 dice.
I'm on a cow and I'm high up, as you said. So I feel like that makes it harder to hit me.
Which is why it's easy and not very easy.
Okay.
Because a 3 to 5 would be a very easy task. It would like if you're just standing in front. There's not a lot of things he has to do. He has to kind of stretch up and try and smack you in the leg, basically. So I'm saying it's a 6, which on 2 dice could still be a bit of a stretch.
Okay, and that's melee parry, not dodge.
That's melee parry if you want to react to that.
Yes, I do.
Okay, so now
I thought dodge was the right one, and that's what I took, but
I know
do want
it's
melee
important.
parry.
You do. And so because you've already done an action this turn with your beast riding, you can roll your melee parry, but now it's at -1d because this is now your second action this turn.
Okay, so I only have 1 in melee parry.
So you increased it by 1. What's your base dexterity?
3.
So that means your melee parry is now 4d. You'll roll it at -1d, so you'll roll it at 3d.
Okay.
So roll your melee parry. And I'm going to roll his melee.
My wild die exploded,
Oh, yeah, there you go.
so I'm going to go ahead and roll that again.
Yes, you are.
Okay.
And add it all up. Add the 6 you rolled, and then add whatever you roll after the 6.
18.
Okay. He rolled a 4, and he rolled a 1 on his wild die as a complication. So not only does he not hit you because you are high up on the cow and you expertly turn it to the side and disrupt him, he's going to slip on a cow pie and end up on the ground in the cow pie. That leaves us with the big bully that is still got birds and sun in front of his eyes from the rock he took to the head. And he's -1d because he's stunned, and he's -1d because he's already taken an action this turn. But he's not entirely deterred. He's trying to punch Diana on your mount.
Gross.
And
Awful.
so the bully has 3D brawling. You can react to this with your brawling parry if you wish, but it will be at -1d because you've already rolled your beast riding this turn. Or you
That's
can rely just
fair.
on the target number. It's the same target number. It's going to be a 6 or higher to hit you.
I'm gonna try. I think I'll try to parry. What is that again? Is that
So brawling
dexterity?
parry, which is under
Or-
dexterity if you haven't raised it. So your
Okay.
base dexterity, but then -1d because it's now your second action this turn.
Okay, let's see. Oh, it exploded. Yay. Okay, cool.
Awesome.
Add
Yeehaw.
it all up and keep rolling that 6 until it doesn't explode.
I'm rolling. Oh, this is a high number.
Exciting.
Yeah, I made the right choice here. Yeah, it's 18.
Nice.
Well,
So
he rolled 3 dice and he rolled a 9, but 18 beats 9. So his punch kind of just deflects off the flank of the thumper, which doesn't disturb the beast at all, and he doesn't connect with his punch. And so now things have gone from bad to worse. So that is their turn. Now we're going to go back up to the start of your guys' turn again. You guys need to declare how many actions you're going to take this turn, if you're going to go first again, or if you want to wait and react to what they do.
How much more time is it going to take me to get the rifle?
You have the rifle in hand because you basically got to the house, got it from inside the closet, inside the door. You'll have to, and because it's the slug thrower, if you choose to aim it at the kids, it has the range. You can shoot from here.
I give the parents a long-suffering look, and then I head back out.
So otherwise, you can do an action and still do something else if you wish, and those 2 actions will be at -1d each, or just run out.
I'm gonna go another round until
Okay.
until I get kind of close enough.
Okay, you got it.
I'm letting the kids shine here,
You guys are gonna go first.
so I don't want to murder anybody. Like that's not the plan.
No. How many actions do you guys want to take?
Has how many kids left?
Say again. Sorry.
There's how many kids left?
There's one running away that you can choose to chase down, and then there's the big bully kind of tussling with Diana, and then the smaller one which is currently laying on the ground, covered in animal feces, staring up at May.
I'm going to take 2.
Okay.
Can take 1.
Okay.
I'll probably do 1.
Okay. So everyone will do their 1 action. That'll include Eric running back out. Barnaby's second action will be after everybody, after the other side goes, then you go back and second actions happen at that point. Because the enemy always has a chance to react before you get to do your second action. So first action, so May, we'll start with you. What are you going to do?
I kind of want to just scare the poo covered child.
Okay.
And like back up my cow as if I'm like getting ready to charge.
Okay.
But not actually charge.
Sure. So you're going to make another beast riding roll then.
Yeah. Okay.
Just to control the animal and to make the animal seem like it's about to do something really intimidating. And this was just straight. I just assigned a difficulty number based on how difficult I consider this task to be.
My wild dice exploded. I swear I'm not trying to get these kids.
Force is with us.
Absolutely.
You got to save these rolls for when we actually play. You're going to spend them all right now.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So everyone remember I have a 6 that I need to add on to whatever I'm about to, and a 5. Okay, so 11. 26.
Okay. Yeah.
Jesus.
You beat the difficulty. After easy, it goes to moderate, 11 to 15. After moderate, it goes to difficult task, 16 to 20. After difficult, it goes to very difficult, which is 21 to 25. And a heroic task is difficulty number 26 to 30. So yeah, you exceeded exceptionally well. So yeah,
I can do one thing really good.
yeah. So you totally back it up, get it ready to go. You know how to squeeze your thighs a bit and get it to make a little bit of a bellow and seem like it's about to get really ornery and angry. So that's perfect. Diana, what's your action?
I think I'm gonna try to bargain with this kid because at the end of the day, we're all just children.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna kind of like sit up a little bit straighter and like looking down on this like almost like an air of nobility on top of my fucking thumper. Just be like, hey, if you like promise to stop throwing rocks at them and come back tomorrow, I can actually show you how to ride them, and it's actually like pretty cool. But you have to not throw rocks at them anymore.
Now, did you increase bargain as one of your skills?
I did.
Okay. Bargain is
Excellent.
awesome. It's a really important skill. Bargain is literally haggling for goods and services. In terms of what bargain
Gotcha.
does.
Okay.
There's another skill called con. If you want to trick somebody, you're basically lying to them. There's another skill called persuasion. That's your smooth talking, so forth. So I'm not saying take points away from bargain, but if you want to, if you want your character to be able to convince people of a different course of action, persuasion is how you do it without coercing them. Con is how you do it by tricking them. Command, all under perception. Command is how you do it by ordering them to do it.
Gotcha.
So just in terms of personality-wise for your character, if you want to move any skill points around, I wanted to make sure you saw that.
Cool. Thank you. I think I'll keep it the way it is, but I still, then if I'm trying to persuade him, whatever.
Yep. So if you don't have persuasion,
works.
it's just going to be your base perception.
That's totally cool. Sounds good to me.
And again, I just it's for him. It would just be like a willpower to kind of does he agree with what you're saying? And I'm just going to roll his willpower right now.
Come on,
It's
kid.
opposed.
This animal is so cool. I got a 12.
Yeah, and he got a 4. So
it's just so cool, man. You could ride one of these.
so the big bully pauses and didn't think that would be an option today when they were just causing mischief and hassling the animals, right? So fair enough. So that's what you've done there. Barnaby, what's your first action?
I think the absolutely smallest child humanly possible just tells him to scram, and so they're trying to intimidate them and get them to tell me the hell out of here.
So you can order them to run, which would be command, which would be under your perception, or you can intimidate them, which for whatever reason they chose to make intimidation because it's more of a how to affect somebody. Intimidation is under knowledge.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna go with intimidation with the threat that if they don't leave, I'm gonna throw another rock at them.
Got it. You roll your intimidation, and I will roll willpower for both of them.
Math. 8.
Okay. The big bully, who was very enamored with actually getting to ride one of these things rather than antagonizing it, exploded on his wild die twice.
Oh.
So he is not intimidated by the threat of another rock. He's far too interested in getting to ride these creatures. The other one only rolls a 5, and that's your guys' turn. On their turn, the second one that is about to get run over by the cow agrees with I don't want to be run over and I don't want to get a rock in the face like the big doofus god. I'm out of here, and he runs chasing after his friend, leaving only the big bully behind. And he is going to not take any actions this turn because he's still holding his head where there's a bit of a mark. He's still stunned this round, so he has -1d to everything he does anyway. And he'll basically say, if I come back tomorrow, I can ride it.
Yeah, if you come back tomorrow, you can ride it, but like you gotta wait at the gate at the end of the road. My mom can't see you. So
He says, okay.
okay.
Better not be a trick. And then
You know
and
where
then
I live.
and then he takes off after his friends. And there you go.
Woo!
So super quick and dirty, right? But that's just a quick back and forth, some reaction skills, some social in the midst of combat, right? You can do whatever it is you want to do. It's very flexible and very friendly in that you can resolve a problem or a conflict multiple ways, depending on what you want to do. And you're just chasing target numbers or opposed rolls, depending on if it's directly against another party. Did any of that not make sense? Was that all pretty clean and pretty straightforward?
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
can see how
It was only going to be a warning shot, I swear.
That's exactly right. Yeah, you had the rifle, but yeah, no need. You can see they're going, and he
I
didn't have a chance. He didn't have a chance to see the
I
rifle.
think there's actually, if we want to make this pseudo canonical to the game, there's an actually cool little character moment here where Big Sister comes up with the rifle and is like, took care of it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't need you to do like everything for me, you know?
You're
Okay, Cow
welcome.
Princess.
I'm obsessed
I'm
with them.
impressed.
She needs a name because I'm rotating her in my mind all the time. So
for
Excellent.
your character's name or for
for my big sister.
oh yeah, you know what? Eric had given me a couple suggestions, and I can't remember. I don't think I ever responded back to.
Well, I went with Wren, like the bird.
Oh,
Ooh,
okay,
I like that.
perfect.
I like that.
So,
Okay,
Slay.
excellent, excellent. So make sure that's on your make sure your names are on your character sheets, guys, because I'm going to get you to send them all back to me, please, just so I can have a quick peek at what you chose, and just help if there was anything that was missing on there. And what I'm going to do is I will send you back some starting equipment and things you can kind of add onto your sheet as far as things that you would have access to and so forth. And I'll give you the stats for the cycling rifle and stuff as well, so that you've the slug thrower, so you've got that as well. Yeah, so that was super quick and fast, right? Social interactions, you're not doing the combat, but you're doing all those social skills, and it's all back and forth, either opposed or against a target number if you're just trying to solve something or figure something out. I want to get information off the computer, and it's maybe restricted or behind a firewall. I'm going to use my computer program repair, and I'm going to roll that and get a target number to get the access. So it moves pretty quickly. And when we're not in combat rounds, you can just do something, and we just roll a skill for it or an attribute, and off you go, right? So pretty quick, fast. Anything that anybody wants to clarify or ask one more time? But
I think the only thing was if we wanted to establish like if our characters knew each other.
The assumption is that you do, which is what I was going with originally, but we haven't. This is a session 0 being a great opportunity to solidify that and really clarify that for everybody for sure.
Mhm.
But my
Just
thought
to
is you've
see if
all
like
grown up
there's
together, so
yeah.
yeah.
Like
Doesn't
any
mean you're
established
best.
relationships or bonds or like
That's all for you guys. Yeah, doesn't mean you're best friends, but it's a small enough community that you guys will all know each other.
yeah.
So yeah, oh man, I dropped the dice. Anyway, it's fine. So my character is related to Diana's character. So I already got that one established.
Awesome. I think my character knows one of the characters. Let me double check the language.
And if we wrote something in the one-on-one thread, remind me, please. Yeah, if we established for any reason there was a connection that I forgot. Some of those discussions were a month or so
My
ago, right?
mom is friends with Diana's aunt,
Oh.
Tanal.
Oh. you're friends with the aunt. She's friends with the aunt. Okay, that gives me some. All right. That's interesting. That's very interesting.
Yeah. That's right. Okay.
She's up to
I
some
think we
shit.
know
So
each other. I've
I
I've
think
made
so.
definitely like an inside kid who gets forced to go outside a lot kind of energy.
I'm the outside, and I am the outside kid. So
Excellent. Yeah.
I'm also an
Yeah.
outside kid.
yeah, outside kids unite.
Just a absolutely tiny, curmudgeony little person who just writes things down in a notebook all the time.
Yeah.
I love that.
May, what would be a connection point with any of the characters if you wanted to make one?
Maybe because her dad works on like agricultural droids.
Oops.
Yep.
So there's like a farming type connection there.
My family
That-
owns one, or owns the agricultural corporation.
So to clarify, right? So
Yeah.
Barnaby's father. So this would be common knowledge, things that you guys would know. And so Barnaby's father owns a shipping company that's grounded to the planet, only for Salashay, the planet you're on. They fly the ships that come in to pick up the grain to take it back to the capital. That's something that happens during the peacetime, and it's still something that's still happening during the time of the Empire.
Oh, so that's Lon Cora. Interest. I have my little document open. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh,
And
the
so
connections are connecting.
yeah, so Diana and Eric have an aunt
Mhm.
who is a pilot, their mom's sister, who is a pilot that flies for Barnaby's father, flying these things. They are just atmospheric transport craft. They don't go into space. They just come in and pick up. They bring supplies. The schedule's typically once a week. They'll bring supplies in, and then the droids gather up all the big bales of grain, load them up into the transport, which goes back to the capital for either transport off-world or processing, depending on what it is that they're doing. Right. Salashay, the planet, is a agri world, so it's grain and all food processing and food growing essentially. Right. Literally one of the breadbaskets of the galaxy is what they do. Diana and Eric's family farm has those Gorns, those meat cows, and has Creation Thumpers. Creation Thumpers are basically tauntauns, but they're brown and hairy, and they are domesticated bipedal riding creatures that can be used to pull stuff, as well as being used as for recreation and for exploration and so forth. And so they have a small herd of the Thumpers that the community kind of uses and that they sometimes sell and such, and they slowly breed them. But they also have the fenced property, which is the Gorns, which is meat, both a little bit for the local community where you live, and that they also would sell to the Republic and then consequently to the Empire afterwards. May's
Neat.
father
Yeah.
is a mechanic. There's a little shop in town that he operates out of. And in the beginning, it's just him, May's mom and dad. Later, there is a Wookiee that works in May's father's shop as well, after the Empire has settled. May's father goes out and fixes the harvesting, the combines, the big harvesters. Let me show you guys something really cool.
Also, I apologize. My wonderful fiance is playing Valorant with his friends in the other room, and his voice carries. So if you
All good.
hear that, it's
All
him
good.
enjoying a Friday night.
All good. Here is a battle map that I've had commissioned for this game. And if you zoom in on that, you can see the scale of the chair sitting on the combine and how big they are. And so he, is his job, goes out and helps maintain that. There's also large load drifter droids. They're about 10 to 12 feet tall, about 2 meters, just over 2 meters. If you remember from The Force Awakens, when Han and Rey and them are walking into Maz Kanata's place, there's that red droid that comes lumbering out, just as a quick scene of it. And I'm going to find a screenshot and put it up there. That's a big load lifter droid. It's just a big bipedal droid. They're the ones that gather up all the bales after the combines harvest them and then dump them off the back. And so those are fixed in May's father's repair bay. And that's where May has learned how to do a mechanic work as well, helping her father out. And then there's also a Wookiee that works there as well. And so there's a connection point there as far as that goes. And after the Empire has come, essentially the farmers are slowly put out of business because the Empire starts using droids to harvest the grain, because it's continuous 24/7, don't pay any wages. They just go. So eventually the combines just don't get used anymore, and May's father ends up being one of the people that is tasked to go out into the field and repair. They're like giant 2-story harvesting droids that the Empire uses, and that's what May's father repairs. So there's that part as well. And then Mara is a droid that is local to the community, and we'll go into a bit more about Mara's character when Mara can be here, and we'll talk more about that. But you guys will all know the droid because it's been a fixture in the community for a number of years. That's the most immediate stuff. Barnaby's mother works for the did I write down the name?
She works for the Agricultural Corporation as a communications officer.
Yeah,
It's
just, is it just called Salashay, or do they call it, what was the name of the name of the corporation?
Give it a name, at least in the notes that you gave me. You just called this.
It might just be called the Salashay Agriculture. It might just be that's that basic. Yeah, so that's what she does, is that she works in the community, helping manage communications between there's like a local outpost for the community here, managing the local harvesting in the area. And when the game would start, a lot of the locals work for the harvesting corporation. They're the main employer for the area, but there's a small market and stuff. I can go into more detail about the community, but depending on how much we're bumping up against people's time, I can do that next time. It'd be good to do that when Mara's here as well, so that they can also hear that. But yeah, connection-wise, is there anything else that anybody wants to share or explore in terms of their characters?
I think my character might know Barnaby's, just because like my dad had the contract with Salashay Agricultural Corporation.
Yep.
So that like he worked directly for them.
Yep.
So there's a chance that it's like we've been in meetings that our parents were in, and I'm sitting there like, hey, hi, what's up? And you're just like, I am an inside.
Well, and
or however
Barnaby's mother might be the one running some of those meetings on behalf of the corporation, keeping all the local employees who are, the combine harvester drivers, the mechanics, and the admin staff, letting them know new communications, new things that are happening. So yeah, you guys could absolutely run into each other at all sorts of functions like that, and just in the community in general.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that. I envision Gila as being as a child, being a 35-year-old woman trapped in an 8-year-old's body.
Nice.
Just mimicking like her mom. Is I think there is like that. She doesn't have friends, or they don't have friends.
Yeah.
So you like always hanging out with them is like the closest they're getting.
Right. And Nora's like, we're obviously besties. And it's like,
perfect.
Because to her, if you're nice and you're cool or chill, she's just like, oh my God, bestie. She's the drunk girl you meet in a club bathroom that compliments you and then immediately becomes your friend for life. Like, that's who she is.
Perfect.
How did she even get my number? Okay.
Exactly.
Right.
And it's just like,
we're going
oh
out
my gosh,
again.
I can't wait to go out for your birthday next week. It's like, I didn't even tell you. It's my, like,
Yeah.
all that kind of
Jula
stuff.
has
She's
everyone needs to
insta
Venmo
besties.
me money after I pay the bill energy.
Yes, very much so. She'll have accidental mom energy too, because like it'll turn into, okay, so I brought snacks for everyone and water for everyone because
Oh,
we're
yeah.
all going to stay out and have a great time. And
Oh
it's like,
God.
so accidental mom energy too.
Yeah.
So the character that I'm running, Ren, who is May's older sister, is not as
Diana's older sister.
directly
Diana's.
involved. Diana's older
Sorry.
sister. I forget the character name versus the player's name.
Same.
This is why putting those cards up to remind us
Yeah.
would be helpful. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So, I envision as being kind of the like, I'm not really going to hang out with the kids sort of sister, but occasionally gets wrapped up in their things. So you probably all know her, but only Diana really has much of a close connection to her.
Yeah.
Also, because I don't want anyone to build any really strong character stuff that is going to require Ren to be around, because Ren's not going to be around.
No, that's right.
So
Yeah, and Ren, I think Ren is 5 years older. Is that roughly
yeah,
what
something like that.
I think was what we set it at. So, yeah, 5 years when you're kids. There's going to be a point where you're basically playing 9-year-olds, and then we're going to jump ahead to 19. So Ren's always going to be 5 years ahead of that, right? So the 14-year-old is not wanting to hang out with the 9-year-olds. Sometimes has to, but it's minimal, right? So yeah.
What I was going to suggest is that you might also have like a moment, like you did something together, or you have some impression of this character, and they might not all be the same, right?
Yeah.
Like maybe Ren helped you out when you were getting chased around by those same bullies or something at some point, or like vouched for you when somebody was cornering you, like, hey, why are you here? And Ren's like, no, I know them, they're with me, it's fine. Something like that. Not that anybody needs to shout out ideas. I'm just putting that in your head so you can give it some thought. Obviously, we can keep talking on Discord and come up with other suggestions and ideas.
So now that we've gotten through session 0, and happily no one is telling me they're going to back out and have no interest in playing anymore. I didn't want to move forward with character gen. I didn't want to move forward with a little bit more brainstorming. I wanted to make sure that we had this time to make sure everybody got to talk and to share their viewpoints and their asks, and make sure everybody was heard. But I'm going to go back to using our one-on-one chats. I'm going to send you some messages here and there to flesh out some final details. I'll make sure you get the character sheet sent to me. You can drop it to me even in the Discord chat, which is fine. And if there's anything, like I said, anything private that we're not sharing with other players, and we can do that privately in the one-on-one. My ask is, because I know Discord doesn't play nice and sometimes doesn't tell us when things have been updated, please just check Discord from time to time. Check our one-on-one chat. Please check the Dungeon Scrawlers group chats, because I'll drop a couple things in there as well, as a reminder for everybody, just so communication-wise we keep in touch that way. And just that way, because sometimes I'm worried if you haven't seen something, I don't want to be perceived as harassing you by pinging you and saying, "Hey, did you see the thing?" So I want to make sure everybody just sees the messages. If we can just do that, because we got a few weeks to go before we start our recording sessions. Yeah, so we'll finalize characters in the private chats, finalize a few small details, and I'll put some things up in the shared group chat in Dungeon Scrawlers, and some individual stuff one-on-one. Before I let you guys go, so you can get on with your night, anything else anybody wants to ask, share, clarify?
I wanted to mention that although you've spent most of your time talking with Jason, if you feel like messaging me or asking me questions or just chatting, whatever, I'm always available. You're more than welcome to contact me. I am mostly just kind of producing and supporting Jason in running this, but it's his game and it's all of your game, and I'm an assistant.
Cool.
Also, I'm
Yep.
really looking forward to this. Like, you all seem pretty cool, and like it seems like there's a pretty good vibe here. Beat up those bully kids pretty well, so
I have fooled you into thinking I'm cool.
Yes, you
Just,
have.
just like me, just like your character, exactly.
We're all just
Just
fake it until we
always
make
tagging
it.
along.
Right. Also, anyone can slide into my DMs if they have ideas about our characters knowing each other or an interaction or a moment they've had. And Barnaby, I'm going to get you a Spotify
Okay.
playlist and a Pinterest board.
It's like I
Soon as I
messaged
can.
you ages ago.
Also, I realized, Barnaby, that I like ghosted you like about that as well, and I'm so sorry. I'm gonna actually answer this time.
And Barnaby only has a few weeks to if we want to have character sketches like headshots or busts for the display that Yang Yang can put up for the overlay. Get that information to Barnaby now so that we can have those ready in time, because that on top of everything else would just add another piece to it, right? So it'd be great.
Yeah,
But
it'll
also no
only be
pressure.
headshot.
Yeah,
It'll
yeah.
only be headshots. If you only give it earlier, I could have gotten the whole thing, but I got like 9 commissions, so I can
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
like headshots.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Obviously, do work that will actually pay you money for.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Just a little humble brag. I don't have time to do your stuff because I'm getting all these commissions. Yeah. Oh, awesome. Awesome.
Cool.
Yeah. I mean, this one I did for it's in the chat. I did that one while we were talking, so it'll be about that level of quality.
Did you put one in the chat?
Yeah, put it in the chat.
In the. Did I not see it?
Oh, that's
It's
so
not in the
cool!
messages.
I
It's
love.
In the Dungeon
on the
Scrawlers one.
on the Dungeon
Oh, that's
Scrawlers page.
awesome!
Yeah, it's cool.
Oh,
I
that's
love the
great.
like side shave, orange
Yeah.
Right?
sort of
Mhm.
Oh,
such a look.
the silhouette
You
on the
said that, and I
sleeves.
assumed it was just going to be the line art, and then I see the colors too, and I'm like, oh yeah, awesome,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
sweet. Well, thank you everybody. This was really good. I'm looking forward to this. I want to see what cool things you all produce, and I'm here to help. I'm looking forward to it.
Yep, and I'm gonna go buy character appropriate D6s because I want an excuse to buy more
A
dice.
new game is
There it
always a
is.
chance to get the dice. Exactly
Right?
right.
Mhm.
Excellent. All right. Good night, everyone.
Thanks everybody. Really
Thanks.
appreciate
Have
it
a good
connecting
one.
again. We'll talk again
Good
soon.
night.
Have a good night.
Good night, guys. Bye.